Which LA Kings are living up to expectations so far this season, which are not, plus a check of LA Kings prospects in the AHL, college, and junior levels. Some good news and not so good news involving some Kings potential future goalies. That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and the #1 sports podcast network. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly podcast and YouTube show that wraps up the night in the NHL, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Well, the Kings were off on Wednesday. They'll be back in action on Thursday in Toronto against the Maple Leafs in Game 3 of their 6-game road trip. Will the Kings win 3 in a row for the first time this season? Hopefully the answer is yes. But we're going to look at the team so far through 17 games and check who is or who is not living up to expectations so far this season. Now, this is a very subjective thing. My expectations might be different than your expectations. We're going to a movie together. You think it's going to be great. I think it's going to stink. It ends up being okay. And I'm like, okay, that was not bad. And you're disappointed. So it's all about perspective and what your expectations are. But I'm going to give you my thoughts and you can see what you might agree or disagree with. So when looking at the Kings roster, I believe there are clearly 2 players playing above expectations. One of them I think is pretty obvious. The other one, maybe not. But I would say Corey Perry is definitely playing above expectations. I thought he would be good. I thought he would play his role for the LA Kings. I did not expect him to have 7 goals and 11 points in 11 games. And coming back from an injury, by the way, it's like he was never gone. Now, certainly his knee procedure wasn't major surgery, but it was still surgery that kept him off the ice for a while. So for him to come in, perform the way he has, shown no signs whatsoever that he was hurt at all, been a spark for the team. I think Corey Perry, you'd have to say at this point, is definitely playing above expectations. How long is this going to last? Will it be something he can maintain all season long? Probably not this pace. But it'll just be an impact player for the Kings. Hopefully the answer is yes. We'll see. So he's the obvious one. I think there is, though, one other player to me that is clearly playing above expectations. And that's the other veteran forward that the Kings brought in this offseason. And that's Joel Armia. I did not expect him to be playing all over the lineup. I did not expect him to be contributing as much as he has. 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points in 17 games. Those numbers aren't going to blow you away. But those are very solid numbers for a guy that we thought was just basically going to be a guy who plays on the 4th line and kills penalties. Joel Armia has been better than I expected. He's been a very valuable member of this team so far, and he's been incredibly versatile. So I would say, to me, those are the 2 players, Corey Perry and Joel Armia, that have, to me, clearly played above my expectations for him so far this year. How about the players that are clearly playing below expectations so far this year? I think, as Corey Perry was the obvious above expectations, I think Andrei Kuzmenko is clearly the below expectations player. I really was looking forward to seeing Kuzmenko play a full season with the Kings, playing on that top line, playing on the #1 power play unit. Well, we're 17 games into the season, and he's already been moved off the top line, at least for now, and taken off the #1 power play unit, at least for now. 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points in 17 games. Now, those numbers aren't atrocious, but he definitely has not been the impact player you would expect him to be. Put in the positions that he's been put in. If you're playing on the top line and you're playing on the number one power play unit, I think we'd expect you to have more than 7 points in 17 games and just to be more impactful. He just has not, unfortunately, been that so far this season. I've said I believe at some point he needs to be given another chance to be that guy. But so far, I think Andrei Kuzmenko has definitely performed below expectations. I'm going to grudgingly also put Quentin Byfield on this list. And I've said it before. I do not think Q is playing bad hockey. As a matter of fact, I think he's doing a lot of things that are good for the Kings. But he is only scored 3 goals so far this year. Now, 14 points, second on the team. That's great. And that's, I mean, maybe to you, he's playing at expectations. Maybe it shouldn't be below, but I think I really thought, a lot of people thought he would take a definite step forward this season. And to me, that means more than 3 goals. And like I said, I really do think he's doing a lot of good things. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm disappointed in the way he's played, but I have to be honest. I just think if he's going to be that impact player that, the number 2 overall pick needs to be, I think he needs to have scored more than 3 goals at this point. And hopefully he gets going. He had a goal in the last game. We know that he can get hot and get on a roll and put the puck in net in bunches. So hopefully that happens. But I think he's doing a lot of good things, but specifically because of the goal totals, I feel like I have to put Quentin Byfield on the under expectations list, just barely. I would say Anton Forsberg to me has not performed up to expectations. 2-2-1 record, a 3.54 goals against average, an 878 save percentage. He has not been that step up at the number 2 goalie position that we were looking for. I'd have to put Warren Foegele on this list as well. Just 2 goals and 2 points in 12 games. Now, there was an injury in there. He missed a handful of games, but to me at this point, I would say Warren Foegele has not played up to expectations. I'm putting Brian Dumoulin on this list. I think he's been okay, but I thought he would be better than okay. So maybe you just thought he'd be okay. Maybe on your list, he's playing to expectations. I really thought he was going to come in and be a pretty solid replacement for Vladislav Gavrikov. So far, like I said, he's just been okay. So not as good as I expected. So to me, that translates into you being on the not as good as expected list. And I feel like I need to put Trevor Moore on there as well, because I really predicted a bounce back season for Trevor Moore in terms of goal scoring. Like Quentin Byfield, I do think Trevor's all-around game has been good. He's doing other things to help the Kings win. But the goal scoring has not been there. 3 goals in 16 games. So I feel like I have to put him on the not living up to expectations list when it comes to goal scoring. I'm sure some people would want to put Cody Ceci on this list, but again, it's about expectations. I didn't expect him to be anything more than just an average player, and I think to this point he's been an average player to me. I don't think he's been as bad as a lot of people seem to think that he has been. As far as other players, goalie Darcy Kemper, bit of a slow start, but been great of late. Last 3 starts have all been excellent. His goals against average and his save percentage have been steadily improving as the season has gone along. I'd put Darcy Kemper in the playing up to expectations list. Same for Adrian Kempe, despite this ridiculous contract situation. Pay this man like yesterday, but Kempe continues to show why he is such a good player, a valuable player to this organization. He leads the team with 18 points. It's good to see that despite the issues going on with him off the ice, it has not affected his play on the ice. To me, pretty much everyone else is playing right around expectations. Drew Doughty, Kevin Fiala, Andrei Kopitar. I think they're all good. I don't think any of them are playing above expectations. I don't know that any of them are playing below expectations, but then again, this is my expectations of the Kings roster. So that is my list of the players I think that are clearly playing above and below expectations for the LA Kings so far through 17 games. Coming up, some really good news about a possible future goalie for the LA Kings. We'll do that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. When I am hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, energy, mood, even my skin. That's why I've been using DripDrop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. DripDrop isn't just your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. It actually tastes amazing. My go-to flavor is fruit punch. And it's become my secret weapon for staying sharp and energized through long days. Hydration has become non-negotiable for me. DripDrop helps me feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just better overall. Right now, DripDrop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Just go to DripDrop.com, use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. That's DripDrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 20% off. Stock up now and keep your body and mind performing at their best with DripDrop. I wanted to check in on the Ontario Reign, the Kings AHL affiliate. So far on the season, 8-4-1 record, 17 points, sitting second in the Pacific Division. And I wanted to start with the most positive thing for the Ontario Reign so far this season in regards to the Los Angeles Kings. And that is that goalie Eric Portillo is looking very good and showing no signs of that back injury that he suffered last season that did affect his performance a year ago, caused him to miss a significant amount of time. For Portillo, through 9 games, a 5-1-1 record, 2.26 goals against average, and a .915 save percentage. That is the good news. The not so great news is Phoenix Copley hasn't looked so good this season to this point. 6 games played, 2-3 record, a 3.91 goals against average, and just an .866 save percentage. Now, it was thought that if something happened to Darcy Kemper or Anton Forsberg in the short term, that Phoenix Copley would get the call-up. And that did briefly happen this season when Kemper missed a few games. I'm not sure that would be the case now. I think if, and of course we don't want to see this, but if something were to happen to Darcy Kemper or Anton Forsberg, that would be longer term. I think the way Eric Portillo has performed to this point, that A, he would be good to go if need be, and B, I think that whether it's short term or long term, I think that the Kings would be comfortable in at least giving Eric Portillo a shot to show that he can be the number 2 goalie for the LA Kings. He obviously got his NHL debut last year, played a great game against the Ducks, and everything looked like it was going in the right direction. Then the back injury happened, and everything kind of got thrown into flux. Didn't know how he was going to come back this year. But again, I think it's a great sign that he has looked very good coming out of the gate so far for the Ontario Reign. And I believe if something happens, which we hope it doesn't, that the Kings would be okay turning to Eric Portillo to be the fill-in, either short-term or long-term, if one of the Kings netminders does go down. So that is positive news that the Kings have a little insurance. They don't have to go out and get somebody from outside the organization. They don't have to make a trade necessarily. That Eric Portillo could be the guy to help them out in that kind of a situation. When you look at the rest of the roster for the Ontario Reign, so far on the season, a lot of those veteran-type players are leading the team. I would call these players guys that could get called up if injuries were to strike the LA Kings bottom 6. Some of these guys could come in and fill in the short term. We're talking about guys like Taylor Ward and Akil Thomas, who each have 10 points in the season for the Reign. Glenn Gaudin, Andre Lee, and defenseman Joe Higgins, they each have 9 points so far on the season. So those are the guys who could come up and fill in for the Kings in a short-term kind of a situation. Then you've got the list of the younger guys for the Ontario Reign who may or may not have a future down the road with the LA Kings. A guy like a Martin Chromiak, who's got 8 points. Atu Yemsen, Kenny Connors, Francesco Pinelli all have 7 points. Taylor Ward is the leading goal scorer for the Ontario Reign at this point with 7 goals. Martin Chromiak has 5, and then you've got Joe Higgins and Akil Thomas each with 7 assists. Some other players of note, you've got Cohen Ziemer, who's a new young professional player, 7 games, 1 goal, 3 assists. Jack Hughes has played 11 games for the Reign. He's got a goal and 4 assists. The defenseman Kirill Kirsanov, he has played 13 games with a couple of assists. Otto Saline, another defenseman, only 8 games with a goal. And Angus Booth, you might remember, injured in training camp. He has since come back recently, played in 4 games with 1 assist so far on the season. So just a brief check on what's going on with the Ontario Reign. I'm sure we'll get an in-depth report on some of the games of late from our fan correspondent. But I would say, again, very encouraging sign that Eric Portillo has looked really good for the Ontario Reign. And if something does happen, I think that the Kings would be at least more comfortable at this point in turning to him to help out than maybe they would have been going into the season. I think it was a question mark. They wanted to see how would he respond to game action early on, and the answer to the question is, so far he's looked really, really good for the LA Kings. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. We're going to talk about another Kings goalie prospect that's having a little bit of a tough time so far this season. That is next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next basket to a fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, whether your team's making that late push or leading by 20 points. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, wanted to check in on the prospects for the Los Angeles Kings that are playing in junior hockey, college hockey, and a couple of guys that are playing over in Europe as well, and tell you how they've done so far early on in the season. We'll start with the players playing in junior hockey up in Canada, and we start with the Kings' number 1 junior prospect. That is forward Liam Greentree, first-round pick in 2024, the captain of the Windsor Spitfires. He's played as expected, 12 games so far this season. He has 12 goals and 21 points. He is tied for 5th in the Ontario Hockey League in terms of scoring. A difficult situation for Liam Greentree. We've talked about it before. Should be playing in the AHL because of the stupid rules that the NHL has for this one final year. They're changing it next year. If Liam Greentree was playing next year instead of this year, he'd be with the Ontario Reign, but whatever. But Liam Greentree, not much to prove playing in junior hockey. Just stay healthy, work on your game, work on your skating. But his production has been exactly what you would thought it would be. Again, 21 points in 12 games so far for the Windsor Spitfires. Goalie Carter George is a second-round pick of the Kings in 2024. He is playing in the OHL for the Owen Sound Attack. He's had a good start to the year, 7-3-2 record for him, 910 save percentage, and a 2.82 goals against average. He is tied for 5th in the OHL in wins so far this season. So Liam Greentree, Carter George, the 2 big junior prospects for the Kings, both playing up to expectations so far on the young season. We had defenseman Henry Bustevich, first-round pick of the Kings in 2025. He's played 16 games for the London Knights. He's got 7 goals and 11 points. He's already just 3 goals away from his total of a season ago, although his assist numbers are down. He had 32 assists last year, just 4 so far this year, so appears he's being asked to play a bit of a different role, more of a finisher than a facilitator at this point from the point for the London Knights. And also playing for London is defenseman Jared Woolley, 6th-round pick in 2024 for the Kings. 17 games. He has 5 goals and 9 assists for 14 points. You've got forward Jimmy Lombardi, who was a 4th-round pick of the Kings in 2025. He's playing his 3rd OHL season for the Flint Firebirds. He's played in 17 games. He's got 10 goals and 12 assists for 22 points. He's already just 3 goals away from matching his total from a year ago. Forward Jan Hoven was a 6th-round pick of the Kings in 2025. He's playing his first season in the OHL with the Sudbury Wolves, Quentin Byfield's old junior team. 17 games for him, 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points. And defenseman Will Sharp was a 7th-round pick by the Kings in 2025. He's playing in his 4th year in the Western Hockey League for the Flint Firebirds. 10 games for him, 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points. Switching over to college hockey, I mentioned heavy is the head that wears the crown. Well, goalie Hampton Slakinski won the national championship last year with Western Michigan. The Kings' fourth-round pick in 2023 had a magical freshman year. His sophomore season, not going quite so well. So far this year, just a 5-5 record. His 5 losses this year already matches his total number of losses from last season. He's got a 3.14 goals against average and an .880 save percentage. So his numbers in both those categories are quite down from they were a year ago. No doubt his Western Michigan Broncos are now the hunted this season after winning unexpectedly the national championship for a year ago. So there's no doubt that every team that they play is now gunning to knock off the defending champs. I'm sure it has been more challenging for Slakinski and his teammates being the hunted instead of the hunters like they were a year ago. And despite that 5-5 record, they are still ranked in the top 10 in the nation. They're at number 9 in the top 25 rankings. But so far this season, not as good for Hampton Slakinski as it was a year ago. We'll see where he ends up as we go along this year and continue to update things. Some other college players, you've got forward Ryan Conmey. He was a 6th-round pick of the Kings in 2023. He's playing at Boston College after transferring over from the University of New Hampshire. He's in his junior year. BC is ranked 18th in the country. Ryan Conmey has played in 9 games for the Eagles. He has 2 goals. Then you've got the trio of players playing for the University of Denver, which is ranked 4th in the nation. For James Reeder, a 7th-round pick of the Kings in 2024, is a sophomore right winger. He's played in 10 games. He's got 4 goals and 3 assists for 7 points. Forward Christian Epperson, 3rd-round pick in 2025 by the Kings. He's a freshman at Denver. He's played in 10 games, 4 goals, 1 assist for 5 points. And you've got forward Brendan McMorrow, 7th-round pick of the Kings in 2025. He's a freshman at Denver. 8 games for him, 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points so far in the season. And one other college player to mention, that is Caden Harrington, 4th-round pick in 2025 by the Kings. He's a freshman at the University of Vermont. He's played in 8 games. He's got a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. And we've got 2 European players to check in on. Forward Wojtek Šihar, 2nd-round pick of the Kings in 2025. He's playing in his 3rd year in the Czech League. He's played in 20 games so far this season with 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points. And goaltender Petteri Rimponen, 5th-round pick of the Kings in 2025. He's playing his 3rd year in the Finnish League. In 15 games this year, he has a record of 6-5-4, 2.65 goals against average, and a .925 save percentage. So you are now caught up as far as all the Kings prospects, all the future Kings so far on this young season and what they have done so far. All right, for you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up on our next show, we will have a full recap and analysis of the Kings Maple Leafs game coming up on Thursday evening. That is a 4 o'clock Pacific time start. You can see all the action on the FanDuel Sports Network locally, ESPN Plus nationally, and you can listen to the game on the LA Kings app. As always, we'll have our fan feedback show at the end of the week. You can sound off on anything that is going on with the LA Kings, anything we've talked about on our shows this week. Do you agree or disagree with any of my meeting, exceeding, or not meeting expectations for the Kings roster so far this year? If you want to get in on that, the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE, and you can always leave your comments on the YouTube episode if you're watching on YouTube. We'd love for you to stay interactive with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. And if you want some exclusive content, including game previews, breaking down highlights, and special group chats as well, you can send me an email, lakingsextra@gmail.com, and we will pass along that information to you. It's also a great way to support your host. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings, go.